I was born and raised in SOC Trang, in a family that was not well off, but always full of love. Every time I think back to my childhood, I remember my mother's sorrowful eyes, and the stories she used to tell on stormy nights, when the altar light flickered dimly red in the dark. In those stories was a hidden pain that she kept to herself for many years, until I was old enough to understand the long and heartbreaking journey my parents took in search of a child, and the children, who never stayed. My father was born in 1960, and my mother in 1967. They got married in 1985, when my mother had just turned 18. The wedding was not grand, just an offering to the ancestors and a few simple tables for guests, but in their eyes, it was the beginning of a life full of hope. After the wedding, my parents did not stay in Vietnam. Instead, they moved to Cambodia. Partly because my father had a steady job there, and partly because life in Vietnam at the time was still harsh and plagued by poverty. They rented a small room in a poor neighborhood, where many other Vietnamese families, also far from home, were trying to make ends meet. Despite the hardships, their love remained strong. Every evening after work, my father would bring home some bundles of vegetables and dried fish, and they would laugh and eat together. They longed for a child, a tiny being who would call them Dad and Mom. But year after year, that dream remained out of reach. 10 years passed in sighs and tears. My mother still could not conceive. She visited doctors in many places and tried every possible treatment. Eventually, a doctor diagnosed her with infertility. That news was like a blade slicing through the heart of a woman who had been yearning day and night to become a mother. Still, my mother refused to give up any remedy that anyone recommended. Western medicine, Eastern medicine, traditional herbs, she tried it all. Once, she took a 6-hour bus ride just to see a famous Chinese herbalist and brought back a very expensive bag of medicine. After drinking it, she vomited black blood, yet she still gritted her teeth and endured. Because she believed that if she kept trying, the heavens would not forsake her. She sincerely went to temples to pray to the Buddha, to bow before Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, and to beg day and night for a child. She chanted sutras, released captive animals, burned offerings, did anything anyone said might help her pray for a child. During that time, every time she saw a child playing in the neighborhood, she would rush over and ask to hold them. She would smile, kiss their cheeks, and then her eyes would go dim, like an oil lamp burning low. I once heard her say there was a strange folk belief. If you ever saw a child naked, you should touch their genitals and then slip your hand into your shirt pocket. Doing so would supposedly help you get pregnant. My mother, though normally very modest, once tried that, in desperation. Seeing his wife withering day by day, my father consoled her.
If we cannot have a biological child, then let's adopt. There's a temple nearby that takes in abandoned babies. We can ask for one to raise. What harm is there in that?
My mother nodded. So the next day, they went to the temple together. Sure enough, there were many children there, from newborns to toddlers, who had been abandoned. Seeing those tiny, curled-up bodies wrapped in thin cloth, my mother was entranced. After explaining their situation, the head monk agreed to let them adopt a newborn baby boy. My mother was overjoyed. For the first time in her life, she got to cradle a baby and call him my child. She cared for every nap, every feeding, every soft whimper in the night as if he were the most precious treasure. But then, just 2 months later, the baby suddenly passed away. No illness. No warning signs. That morning, my mother woke up and found her child cold and lifeless. Grief. Injustice. Anger. The emotions swirled and crushed her. Yet because her love and longing for a child had never died, my parents went back to the temple and adopted another baby. Then another. In total, there were 4, perhaps 5, babies who came into my mother's arms, only to leave mysteriously. Some had mild fevers and died that very night. Some seemed perfectly healthy, and then suddenly died just as they learned to roll over. All of them passed away in silence, without a single warning. I remember my mother once told me about a strange dream that haunted her for the rest of her life. That day, after putting the baby to sleep, my mother was so exhausted that she lay down beside the child and dozed off. In her dream, she saw a Cambodian woman with a terrifying face, eyes glowing red like fire, and long hair matted like tangled roots, suddenly burst into the small rented room. At that moment, my mother was holding the baby in her arms. The woman screamed in broken Vietnamese. "Give me back my child. That's my baby. You cannot keep her." My mother panicked. "No. She's my child. I've raised her, I've cared for her." But the woman ignored her pleas, yanked the baby out of her arms with a snarl like a wild beast, and darted out of the room. My mother awoke immediately, her body drenched in sweat. She turned over and saw that the baby had turned cold and blue, no longer breathing. From that day on, every time she adopted a child, she had the exact same dream. And the outcome was always the same. Eventually, my parents had no choice but to give up on adopting children. My mother became a shell of herself. She stopped smiling, stopped playing with neighborhood children, and every night she lit incense and prayed, eyes filled with tears. Seeing how broken she was, my father came up with another idea. He gently suggested,
"Why don't you work as a babysitter? It'll bring in a little income, and you won't have to adopt. Just help other people, it might ease your heart."
My mother hesitated, then nodded. After that, a few families in our poor neighborhood, too busy with work, began dropping off their kids at our place. This time was different. The children were all healthy, eating well, laughing and playing all day. My mother became lively again, cheerful like before. She even taught them how to speak, trimmed their nails every weekend. But then, something strange happened again. At first, the families were very kind, promising to pay fairly. But after 2 or 3 months, they would suddenly come take their children back, without a word of thanks, and without paying a dime. My mother just smiled sadly. "It's okay. I consider it a good deed. Looking after children builds virtue. Who knows, maybe the heavens will take pity on me and send me a child of my own." My father, however, was furious. Seeing his wife taken advantage of, he forbade her from babysitting anymore. And so, my mother returned to her old sorrow. Going to temples to pray for a child, following folk remedies like scooping a child's soul at the pagoda, but all to no avail. Then one night in July of 1997, my mother dreamt of a cousin who had died long ago, someone she had nearly forgotten. In the dream, he looked at her and said,
"Hey Fifth, my mother is the 5th child in her family. This Saturday, go to the temple and bring your child home. Your child is waiting for you there. Remember, it has to be Saturday."
My mother was startled. She was terrified, thinking he was calling her to follow him, and she cried out in fear. "No, no. I don't have any child at the temple. I'm not going." She woke up in a panic, thinking it was just a meaningless dream, and told no one. But the following night, she dreamt again. This time, she was lying in our old room, near the window. Outside, she heard a child's voice calling, "Mommy! Mommy!" She looked out and saw a little girl, dark-skinned, with tightly curled hair, standing on tiptoe trying to peek inside. The girl spoke in broken Cambodian. "Mommy, please come to the temple this Saturday and take me home, okay?" Terrified, my mother asked, "Whose child are you, calling me mommy?" The little girl responded, her eyes sparkling like morning dew. "I'm your child. Don't forget to come get me this Saturday." Then the girl vanished. My mother woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't sleep again. The 2 strange dreams kept replaying in her mind. The next morning, she finally told my father. He just smiled and said she was dreaming because she missed having a child too much. Then Saturday came. That morning, my father had the day off. Around 9 a.m., Uncle Sao, my mother's younger brother, unexpectedly dropped by and said,
"Sister Fifth, want to go to the temple? Let's visit Mount Talon."
My mother was surprised, because that temple was far, about 2 hours away. But my uncle said he had a delivery nearby and could stop by afterward. My mother invited my father along, and the three of them set off in an old Toyota, thinking it was just a casual trip. None of them knew, this was fate calling. When they arrived, the temple grounds were unusually quiet. While walking around, my mother suddenly heard the sound of a baby crying behind a large rock. She rushed over, and froze. There lay a newborn baby, naked, umbilical cord still attached, wrapped only in a thin cloth. Ants crawled all over her tiny body. Her skin was turning blue, and her cries pierced the still air like a blade. My mother picked up the baby, sobbing while brushing away the ants. They rushed the child into the temple. No one knew who had abandoned her. Then my mother remembered the dreams. Her hand shook as she begged the head monk to let her adopt the child. The monk agreed. That very day, my mother brought home a little soul she believed was the girl from her dreams. That baby became my eldest sister. After adopting her, my parents were overjoyed, but deep inside, they were still haunted by fear. Would the old tragedy return? Would she leave like the others? But this time everything changed. My sister grew up strong and bright, loved by everyone in the neighborhood. When she was about 8 or 9, our grandmother back in Vietnam fell ill. So our family decided to move back. Life in the countryside was hard, but being near family brought my parents comfort. My mother no longer prayed for a child. But fate still had one more surprise for her. One night, she dreamed of 2 men carrying a palanquin. They brought out a baby boy and handed him to her.
Please, ma'am, raise this child for us.
She declined, saying she is poor and couldn't afford another mouth to feed. But they kept pleading.
Please take him with you, we'll take care of everything.
They gave her baby clothes, gold jewelry, and other items, all placed gently in her hands. Then the palanquin vanished. She woke up. A few months later, she dreamed again. This time, she saw Aunt Ba, my father's sister who had died long ago, scolding 2 frail children. When my mother approached, the children turned to her and said,
"Auntie, will you be our mommy? We'll do all the chores in the house."
My mother was terrified and refused. But Aunt Ba snapped. "What are you waiting for? Jump into her womb now. If not, they'll take you away." The older child immediately jumped into my mother's body. The other was led away by 2 strange men. A few months after that, my mother started feeling different, craving sour food, missing her period. She went to the doctor.
Ma'am, you're pregnant with twins.
My father was overwhelmed with joy. And so, after more than 20 years of infertility, my mother gave birth to twin children, me, a girl, and my younger brother. We were the result of dreams, of unwavering patience, of love, and of a hope that never faded. My oldest sister, though not related by blood, is truly our big sister in every way, loved by us and by the entire extended family. Sometimes, looking back, I feel like my life was written by miracles. It does not always take horror to believe in the spiritual. Sometimes, a child appearing at the right moment, a dream recurring on the exact day, or a single call of mommy in a dream, is enough to make one believe that some souls are waiting for us, somewhere in this life. And some children are blessings.
When I was a kid, I was a wild boy, mischievous like the devil himself. I'd climb trees to pick fruit, poke at wasp nests, skip school to swim in the river, play marbles, or chase fighting fish with my friends. So naturally, every few days, I'd get a proper beating from my dad. I remember I was about 12 or 13 at the time. One day, my teacher caught me skipping class and told my parents. My dad was furious. He dragged me out behind the house and whipped me with a rattan cane. As he lashed me, he scolded.
"If you keep acting up, I'll call the Boogeyman to take you away for good."
Hearing that name sent chills down my spine, but I was too upset to say anything. After my dad went back to the rice field, I sat there crying my eyes out. My mom came over to comfort me, patting my back gently, but even she chimed in.
"Stop crying, my son. Don't be so naughty anymore, or the bogeyman really will come get you.
I snapped back. Stop trying to scare me, Mom. There's no such thing as a bogeyman. I don't believe in that stuff. That evening, after dinner, I asked my dad for permission to go play at Teo's house. He agreed, but added,
Fine, but first go out to the field and bring the Scarecrow back in. Then you can go.
I eagerly agreed and ran out right away. That Scarecrow was a straw figure dressed in old clothes, stuck in the middle of the field to scare away birds. Every evening, I would bring it back and leave it by the side of the house, just a routine by now. But that day, something felt off. The moment I touched it, the Scarecrow felt unusually heavy, like someone was sitting on it. I had to use all my strength to lift it. My back was soaked with sweat. But since I was excited to play, I just set it down quickly by the side of the house and dashed off. I played at Teo's until late at night. The moon was high, the wind began to blow through the trees, and I suddenly realized how late it was. Oh crap, I thought. Dad's going to whip me again for sure. I took off running. The countryside road had no lights, just the faint glow from distant houses, and thankfully, the moonlight. As I passed our field, where I had left the Scarecrow earlier that evening, I suddenly heard a strange rustling noise, like someone dragging dry grass. I froze in my tracks, turned to look into the field, and my blood ran cold. The Scarecrow was standing right there in the middle of the field, in the exact same spot it had been in the morning. I stood stunned, heart racing. What? I brought it in already, didn't I? Why is it back there? While my mind was spinning, the rustling sound continued, steady, unnatural, though the air was completely still. Terrified, I lowered my head and started walking quickly toward home. But I had only gone a few steps then the rustling sound came again, right behind me. I turned around. My heart stopped. The Scarecrow was now standing just a few steps behind me. This time, I saw its face clearly, a straw face, but with two bulging white eyes rolled back, and a mouth stretched from ear to ear, grinning, waiting. I was paralyzed. My limbs froze. I couldn't scream. I couldn't run. Then, out of nowhere, I heard a voice, a deep, unfamiliar male voice, warm and commanding.
Run, my son. Run.
And just like that, something released me from the spell. I turned and bolted. The faster I ran, the louder the rustling grew behind me, something was chasing me, right at my heels. I reached home, praying my dad would be awake to open the door. But no, the house was pitch dark, doors shut tight. Dad and Mom were already fast asleep. I banged on the door, slipped inside, slammed it shut behind me, and jumped straight into bed. I barely had time to catch my breath when someone knocked on the door. The knocking was rhythmic, steady, as if someone was counting the seconds. I lay there, frozen, barely daring to breathe. The knocking continued for about 5 minutes before finally stopping. I don't remember when I fell asleep. The next morning, when my parents got up early to head to the fields, I told them everything. My dad didn't scold me, he just shook his head.
See? I told you. You didn't believe me. Keep messing around and one day you will be taken.
We opened the front door to find straw scattered all over the front yard, right on the porch. My mom was so frightened, she begged my dad to burn the Scarecrow once and for all. Without hesitation, he went around to the side of the house, and there it was, right where I'd left it. As if it had never moved. And with his own hands, my dad set it on fire. From that day on, I stopped misbehaving. Not because I feared my father's beatings, but because I knew, some things should never be challenged.